Hey everyone, Josh here with GSA Focus, and I'm just going to kind of be talking off the cuff about my predictions going into 2026 with the GSA program. So I really believe things are in a very pent-up state right now. 2025 has been pretty crazy. I'm going to go over that in a minute. But going into next year, I think things are pent up from the buying community, and I think we're going to see some very massive sales growth for a lot of companies that are in the GSA program. So why do I believe this? Now let's just go back to 2025. I know we're still in that year. It's November right now. But the fiscal year ended and we got a good picture of kind of spending. And the overall statistic that I was looking at is just the overall GSA sales, all sales that went through the GSA multiple award schedule program in 2024, right around 55 billion. 2025, they dropped down to, gosh, off the top of my head, I think like 46 to 48 billion. So a drop in sales with GSA. That happens only maybe once or twice every decade. I've been doing this a long time and I keep track of all that. So it's very rare that GSA sales in that program are not just going up at least, they usually go up about 10% on average. So this is kind of a, black swan year, and the black swan kind of came in, I would almost call it three little black swans. The first one really, was the DOGE auditing. They went through all of the different agencies, and kind of like the culture in government was spend less, be efficient. It really shifted the way things are. And on top of that, DOGE went ahead and canceled contracts, and entire departments like USAID were shut down. So it really sent ripples through the buying community and sent the message, hey, don't spend at the level you were before, and just be really careful in the way that you spend your government tax dollars. So that really kind of like constricted the buying patterns in government earlier in the year. Now, after DOGE kind of like started, kind of tapering off, and maybe even before when DOGE was still kind of a thing, the big beautiful bill was set to come out. And before it even came out and anybody had a chance to read it, the big question was really, what's it going to look like? Is the big beautiful bill going to reflect more of a DOGE, efficient government spending approach, or is it going to be business as usual? High dollars, a lot of it going to defense, and then some other kind of pet programs of the president, and then also just keeping all the ships running on time with all of the other agencies. And it ended up being the second one, which really kind of gave a lot of buyers a little bit less anxiety. They were wondering if they were going to have less money to work with and have to purchase a lot of the same stuff, but with reduced budgets. And that didn't happen. The big beautiful bill came out, and it was actually spending at a pretty high level, a lot going to defense, a lot of what we've seen in past bills like that. So that happened. That was black swan, little black swan number 2. And now we are dealing with the shutdown, which, as of today, I'm happy to report November 13th today, the shutdown ended last night, late at night. So we're just past this one. But the shutdown wasn't just an event that happened in the timeline that it happened, but leading up to the shutdown, there was a lot of threat about the shutdown. The writing was kind of on the wall that it was going to happen, which impacted the buying community as well. So this has been a crazy year. Now, take into account like all these three little black swans, they all were kind of a reduction in spending activity. And we saw the results there in GSA spend. It went down for the first time in a good long time, 5, 6, 7 years. Now, before all of that even happened, Trump issued an executive order. It was called Streamlining Government Procurement. And what it did was it shut down all of these little decentralized purchasing hubs inside of agencies, which had sprouted up over the years, and they were making pretty inefficient purchases. Not on purpose, but we have the biggest organization in the world in the US government, the richest at least. and they spend like crazy. Now government can pull together its buying power and leverage that and get some good savings. They weren't doing that because of all these decentralized hubs basically acting like their own offices that are making purchases. And then on top of that, a lot of those hubs were not being very efficient. They were buying warehouses full of stuff and forgetting about it. Those stories you hear are true. So inefficiency was happening both in the purchases that were, purchases were being forgotten and not really, purchases weren't happening in a very efficient way, and they weren't being pulled together to leverage the buying power the government has. So this executive order came out, and it basically said, we're shutting down all of these little decentralized purchasing hubs, and we're funneling all that purchasing to GSA as an agency. Not the multiple award schedule program, directly, but the writing is on the wall that the MAS, GSA schedule program is the best in class for a dozen or so of those categories. So the writing's on the wall that as those were shut down, that's done. A lot of those folks that worked in those offices went and are working at the GSA now. And all that purchasing going into 2026 is going to be going through the GSA. So the GSA is making the purchasing, multiple award schedule program. GSA schedules are expected to be the go-to mechanism for a lot of those categories. IT is a big one, professional services, staffing, facilities, maintenance, office, furniture, all sorts of supplies and services are on that list. So one big question is, are you in a category that is likely going to go into GSA? Because the worry that I would have in your case is that if you're very active on SAM.gov and even pretty successful in the past, a lot of those SAM.gov opportunities are very likely going to say you need to be in the GSA multiple award schedule program because that's where all of our orders go through now. So you might be boxed out if you're not in GSA, and that's what I'm here to really help. I want to help small businesses determine if what you're selling is moving into GSA, because not everything is. GSA actually kicked out a couple things like promotional goods. They kicked out books and publications. So some items they're saying, no, that's not for this program. But a lot of other stuff, commodities and services, are basically like, I won't say definitely, but almost definitely going through the GSA program going into 2026. So that's two things. I went over the three black swans, little black swans, and I went through that executive order and how that's changing procurement going into next year. Now let's put them together, but let me get a drink of coffee first. All right, so putting those two things together, GSA is going to be the big buyer going into 2026, and there's a very pent-up purchasing atmosphere at GSA. Buying next year, spend is, I think it's going to be astronomical. I think we're going to see GSA's spend through the multiple award schedule program go into the 200 billions, like a 4-time increase. And that's not just my opinion. That was the opinion of the GSA's chief, the administrator of GSA. Like the chief, the big guy over there, looked at how everything's flowing, and that was his prediction that he went and said. It's out there. So go, if you don't believe me, go read some articles. It's kind of happening. Big spend is going up next year. They have a lot of products, services, projects that were shut down, and they need to sprout them back up and get things done. The money's going to be flowing. This year had 3 little black swan events in government purchasing that basically kept the spend level low. So it's going to skyrocket. It's probably already beginning to, but we're going to be going into the Christmas season and things generally slow down there. So from here, if you're in the GSA program, sharpen your axe, get into the right SINs, add your products and services that aren't on there so that you're just basically in a really ready state to capture business. If you're not on GSA, talk to me. Down below, you're going to see the ways to get in touch with me in the description. But yeah, explore. I'm not going to push you into anything. I'm going to help you make a good decision going forward. So if you're thinking of getting into GSA or just government contracting overall because you want your company to just have more flexibility there during economic fluctuations, that's a good reason. If you're already selling to the government and you're kind of worried that if you're not on GSA, your sales are just going to diminish because that mechanism is kind of being kind of like pushed up on a platform and going to be heavily used, then that's another thing that we should discuss. Been doing this 20 years and I've seen a lot of stuff going on with GSA, always tracking it, of course, but this is a crazy situation where GSA has been all over the news, and I can't say in my life that that's ever really been the case. I tell my friends like what I do, and I work with GSA contracts, and most of them have never heard of a GSA contract, but they've never even heard of the GSA as an agency. There's a massive agency out there that manages spending and taxpayer dollars, and I would say most citizens don't even know it exists, but now maybe they do. I don't know. So that's all I have to say. Spend is going up. GSA is the place to be. That's everything there in a nutshell. Reach out to me. You can email me, sales@gsafocus.com. That'll come right over to me. Or my number is down below too. Text me, call me there. It's the 256 number. I'll talk to you later.